Jim had an interesting personality. He could be very funny. He had a dry sense of humor, but he took himself seriously, and we used to jokingly always call him Mr. Dawe.
Really magnetic. He was a really humble guy, but he was funny and friendly, and he just drew you in, and it didn't matter what age you were. If I introduced him to someone 20 years younger than me, he would still give them the same amount of attention he gave me or any of the executives.
Family oriented, loved his family, his children, especially his grandchildren. Jim was very inquisitive and very into the details. So whenever we got a new project, we could always expect a lot of work delving into the details, figuring out the history.
First of all, he's very smart. He was very, very well prepared, very good communicator, that he had judgment and he had discretion. I frankly always got along with him really, really well. I enjoyed his sense of humor. His office was next to mine, very close to mine, and we would bounce back and forth. I never felt like I was ever intruding when I kind of walked in on him.
We worked on everything from master plan projects, residential development in the suburbs, to high-rise towers in downtown San Diego. And I know Jim was very into, of course, development of new libraries, downtown San Diego, and also local branch libraries also.
He was such an expert on downtown San Diego and land use in particular. He really played a key role in reminding people the history of San Diego. You know, beyond law, Jim had so many different organizations that he helped support. He and his family were huge supporters of the arts. They loved Balboa Park. Jim truly loved downtown San Diego. I don't know that I'll ever meet anyone who loved downtown San Diego more than Jim. Jim could talk to you about every building on every block.
Jim was an excellent land use lawyer. Land use law was, in my view, in kind of a period of transition. It changed from a practice that certainly was law-bound, but ultimately was developed on a basis of relationships, to a practice that became, and to this day, is highly technical. I think he was able to build relationships, but at the same time, knew the law, knew the technicalities of what was required.
Jim really mentored and assisted a lot of people within the development community. And I would say that, you know, his deep and extensive knowledge of the history of development in downtown San Diego, the suburbs of San Diego, was something that I think all of us are going to go ahead and miss. He was always a great resource that we could rely upon.
All of San Diego who knew Jim will remember him most for is his love for libraries and his he himself sort of willing into fruition the downtown library that we now sort of celebrate and use and love. Without Jim, and even the elected officials who all stood on stage the day that the ribbon was cut, every one of them pointed back to Jim.
Land use area that he practiced in is an area that you don't necessarily learn in law school. There's a lot of big concepts, medium concepts, but a lot of it's localized. And learning how to work with the agencies and things like that. And he had a series of people that he worked with that I think went on to succeed to practices themselves that were successful. And I think that he deserves credit for that.
Jim's legacy, you know, I think it starts, you know, with his family and grandchildren. Then you can meet people, I think, throughout the development and political community who were mentored by Jim or that he assisted. I said Jim would always make time to meet with someone, and his deep and extensive knowledge of the history of development will be greatly missed in the community.
Jim's legacy is one that people will share and remember in lots of different ways. You know, he certainly has a legal legacy in the city. He certainly has a legacy of supporting causes and organizations, as I said before, that range from the arts to economic development. What I think his legacy is that of just a wonderful dad and a wonderful human being. He didn't challenge us to be nicer and kinder to each other. He just emulated it. He just did it.
This was a well-deserved honor, and I'm really proud of him. And looking at the group of people in years past, Jim deserves to be honored, but I wish this would have happened many years from now.